The letter arrived on a Tuesday. No stamp, no return address, just 2 words on the envelope. For James. James Holloway had not heard that name in 30 years. Not his real name, you understand, but the name she had given him. The woman who disappeared. The woman no one believed ever existed. He turned the envelope over. The paper smelled faintly of salt and old paper. Inside was a single key, black as volcanic glass, and a handwritten note. I am not dead. I was never born. Meet me where the sea remembers everything. Signed with a single letter, E. James had not cried since he was 7 years old. The day his mother left and took the family dog with her. He had built walls around his tears, brick by brick, year by year. But that morning, holding the black key and the salt-scented letter, those walls crumbled like sand before a wave. He wept for 20 minutes, not from sadness alone, but from something he had forgotten he still possessed, hope. Then he packed a bag, not a large one, just a small leather satchel his father had carried years ago. Into it went the black key, the letter, a loaf of bread, a bottle of water, and nothing else. No photographs, no phone, no map. He did not know where Dornhaven was. He did not care. The key would find the door. It always does. 30 years ago, in the coastal village of Dornhaven, a place so small it appears on no modern map, James was a boy who collected broken things, seashells with holes, pocket watches that had stopped, a music box that played only 3 notes. And then, without warning, without reason, without a single footprint left behind, Eleanor Vane arrived. She appeared one autumn morning, walking barefoot out of the mist. No one knew where she came from. She wore a gray coat too large for her frame and carried a leather satchel filled with notebooks. The villagers whispered she was a runaway, a ghost, a spy. James was the only one who spoke to her. "What are you looking for?" he asked. She knelt to his level and smiled, a smile that held both joy and an ancient sadness. "Someone who still believes the world is stranger than they told us," she said. That night, she showed him something he never forgot. In her satchel was not paper, but maps. Maps of cities that did not exist, charts of oceans no ship had sailed. And at the center of every map, the same symbol, a lighthouse with no door. "This is where lost things go," Eleanor whispered. Not to disappear, to wait. 3 weeks after Eleanor arrived, the village church bell rang at midnight. No one pulled the rope. The sound lasted exactly 13 seconds, then stopped. The next morning, the bell was found cracked down the middle. But inside the crack was a single white feather that never decayed. Eleanor was seen standing beneath the bell tower, smiling upward. When James asked what she saw, she said, "The bell remembers who first rang it. A woman 200 years ago who also collected broken things." James looked up. He saw only rust and shadow, but Eleanor saw a ghost ringing a bell that had never stopped singing. A traveling photographer came to Dornhaven. He took a single picture of the villagers gathered by the shore. When the photograph developed, Eleanor stood at the edge of the frame, but behind her, barely visible, was a second figure, a woman identical to Eleanor, yet older, dressed in clothes from another century. The photographer fled that night. He never sold another picture. One afternoon, the sea went silent. No waves, no wind. The water pulled back 200 meters and stayed there for 4 hours, revealing a stone path that no villager had ever seen. At the end of the path stood a small iron door set into the seabed. Eleanor walked that path alone. She was gone for 3 hours. When she returned, her eyes were wet, and she carried a small wooden box. She gave it to James. "Open this on the day you forget why life matters," she said. Then, the next morning, she was gone. No footprints leaving her cottage. No boat missing. The villagers said she had never existed. The records showed no Eleanor Vane born anywhere. But James kept the box. James became a man who collected nothing. He worked in a library, reselling books he never read. No wife, no children, no one waiting at home. His days were gray, his nights were longer. Then the letter came. The key inside was small, cold, impossibly smooth. It felt older than stone, heavier than memory. He turned it over and saw the faintest engraving, Dornhaven below. The letters were not carved. They seemed to have grown there like roots beneath soil. He returned to the village that no longer existed. Dornhaven had been abandoned 20 years ago. Coastal erosion, they said. But when James arrived, the ruins stood exactly as he remembered. Not a single stone had fallen, not a single wall had cracked, and the tide was low, as if the sea itself was holding its breath, waiting with him. He walked the stone path again, adult steps now, but the same trembling heart. Each footstep echoed like a heartbeat in the silent air. The iron door was still there, rusted, waiting, unchanged after 3 decades. His hands shook as he raised the key. The key fit. Behind the door was not a cave, not water. It was a lighthouse, tall, silent, impossibly standing beneath the seabed. Its light was dark, yet warmth radiated from its walls like a sleeping heartbeat. A lighthouse without a door on the outside, because the door was only on the inside, waiting for someone with a key. And now, after 30 years, someone had come. And at the top of the lighthouse, sitting in a wooden chair, was Eleanor Vane. Not aged a single day. Her eyes were the same, deep as midnight, gentle as morning mist. "You kept the box," she said. Her voice was soft, as if time had never touched her throat. James fell to his knees. The weight of 30 years crushed his shoulders. "Where have you been? Why did you leave?" Eleanor stood and walked to a window that looked out not at the sea, but at every sea, every ocean, every shore where someone had ever waited for someone who never came. James crawled closer and looked through the glass. His breath caught. He saw a mother in Greece watching the horizon, a girl in Japan folding paper cranes, an old man in Argentina leaving a chair empty. All waiting, all still hoping. "I am not a person, James. I am a reminder." She touched his face. "Every 100 years, the world produces one soul who is forgotten by history but remembered by the universe. I am that soul's shadow. I walk into lives just long enough to leave a key, a box, a mystery. Then I vanish. Why?" James whispered. "Because people need to believe that not everything lost is gone forever, that not every unanswered question is empty. That somewhere, beyond the ordinary, there is a lighthouse with no door, waiting for the right key." She opened the wooden box James had carried for 30 years. Inside was nothing. But when she turned the box toward him, James saw, reflected in the empty wood, not his aging face, but the face of the boy he had been, still curious, still open, still believing. "You never needed answers, James," Eleanor said. "You needed permission to keep wondering." She handed him a second letter. This one had no name on the envelope. "Now you are the reminder," she said. And then, like mist over cold water, she faded, leaving only the scent of salt and old paper. James returned to his city. He quit the library. He bought a small notebook and began writing down every strange thing he had ever seen or heard, not to explain them, but to honor them. He placed the empty wooden box on his windowsill. Sometimes, late at night, he swore he could see tiny lights moving inside it, like stars being born. He never tried to find Eleanor again, but once a year, on the Tuesday when the letter arrived, he lights a single candle, opens the notebook, and writes one new mystery. He does not write answers. He writes questions, beautiful, aching, unanswerable questions. He is 73 years old now. His hands are slower, but his heart is wider. His notebook has 400 pages. Each page is a Tuesday. Each Tuesday is a prayer. And one day, a young woman knocked on his door. She wore a gray coat too large for her frame. She carried a leather satchel. She smiled a smile that held both joy and an ancient sadness. "Are you the one who collects broken things?" she asked. James smiled back. "I've been waiting for you," he said. Some stories are not meant to be solved. They are meant to sit inside you like a stone in a river, smooth, cold, unmoving, until one day you realize the water has shaped itself around it, and you cannot imagine the current without its weight. Eleanor Vane was never born. She will never die. She is the name we give to the feeling that something just beyond our vision is real. A door, a key, a box of nothing that holds everything. You have your own, Eleanor, my friend. A question you never answered, a goodbye that never finished, a moment that made no sense but changed you anyway. Do not bury it. Light a candle for it. Write it down. Pass it to someone who still believes the world is stranger than they were told, because beyond the ordinary, past the maps, past the certainties, past the jealous voices and small-minded doubts, there is a lighthouse with no door. And somewhere, someone is walking toward it with a key that has your name on it. And there you have it, my dear friend. A story not of any country, any border, any flag, but of a world we all share. The world of wonder, mystery, and the quiet courage to believe in things unseen. If this story touched something inside you, a memory, a question, a forgotten hope, then do me one small favor. Before you close this video, press like, not for me, for the Eleanor inside you. Share this story with one person who needs to remember that not everything lost is gone forever. And if you have not yet subscribed to Beyond the Ordinary, what are you waiting for? The lighthouse has no door. But this channel, the door is always open. This is our journey, and we are just getting started. See you in the mystery.